Yeah, we're live on YouTube now. Thank you, everyone. Omega Smart, One Nedala, I greet you all. Paul Dan, Dachi, I greet you, Ezugo, Sonia Richard, Paul Dan. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Yeah, Paul, what's up? Thank you. I greet you all. Welcome to this afternoon broadcast. You finally came here. My man, what's up? Yeah, we are coming in from the code. John Paul, Nebo, we are coming in from the code. Yeah, Victor. Thank you, Victor Nadozie. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us, everyone, this wonderful afternoon. I welcome you all. I'm supposed to announce this broadcast before I do it, but that being said, it's going to be a history class. It's going to be a history lesson. And when whatever you're going to hear today may change everything you think you've been taught about history, about our own very history. So I wouldn't want you to discard anything you're going to hear. Before, when I heard those things, I do call them rubbish, conspiracy theory, and the rest until I started doing my own researches. Then from my researches, I found out that actually those people that have been calling conspiracy theories are the people with the truth. And those who I think are telling us the truth are just a bunch of liars. According to my brother, you're on YouTube today. According to Napoleon Bonaparte, he said history is written by the winners. Ikechi, I didn't see your comments. That's why I didn't hear your name. Sorry, your comment didn't pop up. My brother, Chimebere, Kenkenemen Wogu, your long name. I thank you all, guys. Please let me share the YouTube stream on this thing too. 1 minute. Let me share the YouTube stream on Facebook. Just a moment and I will be here. Guys, this program we're doing, we're going to do it in series. The videos will be in series. In the sense that we will not be able to finish the video. Is a 3.5 hour video. So it's going to take long. Analyzing a 15-minute video sometimes takes us more than 2.5 hours. So you can imagine. I want you to help me keep count on this. The ones if we can't go too far this afternoon, because I'm expecting a call anyway, we will start tomorrow. We'll start from where we stopped. We'll start from where we stopped tomorrow. Okay? That's how we are going to do it. Hold on, guys. Let me take this call. 1 minute. Hello? 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 Yeah, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay, please, I'm live. Can I call you back? Yeah. Okay. Take care. Yes, guys, I just got a call now. I thought it's the person I'm yeah, guys, please let me share this. Facebook is limiting the reach. They gave me a strike. One more strike and the page will be gone. But we don't care. We are going to open another one and keep telling the truth. No matter who is getting angry, we keep posting those things they don't want us to post. They can eat their Facebook. We are not making money from this, okay? They can eat their Facebook for all we care. That's just their business, not ours. Without wasting any time any further, guys, I'm getting the video we are going to analyze ready. Let me share the screen now. I will share the screen. Screen share. Okay. This is the video we're analyzing this afternoon, this glorious afternoon, my people. You will see the name of the person. I just want to start it from the beginning to the end. Make sure if you start it, that you don't miss anything. Do not miss anything on this video, and your own history will change. Everything you think you know, everything you've been taught about history, especially Western history, which, by the way, is what is guiding us today. We got a Western education. And who gave us the education? The same people who confused their people, the same people who've been causing all these wars. Check from the Greeks to the Romans to the Germans, the Germanic tribes, to the Normans, to the full English, the Spanish Empire, each and every one of them, everything is connected, and these people are just a bunch of criminals who've been leading the world to one disaster after another. All these wars we've been hearing about, they are all man-made, and they are not caused by what they told you they are caused. So let us go and do a little deep dive. Maybe for 2 hours. If we'll be up for 2 hours, I think you will learn a lot of things. And if you want me to stop stopping the videos, you do let me know in the comment section. Okay. Sorry, let me make it bigger. Let me make it bigger on my own screen, smaller. Yes, I think it's better like this. It's better this way. This is the name of the documentary. Those of you who watched it the day I posted it, I thank you for watching it, and you as you can attest to, you learned a lot from it. Okay, now those of you who haven't watched it, this is JFK to 9/11. Everything is a rich man's trick. YouTube, keep on scrubbing this video. This one you're seeing is less than 1 year. Meanwhile, this video is more than 12 years on the internet. So the original one, you can't say it, it got more than 100 million views. This one now, let me check. This is, oh, this was even posted in August 2020. Already it has 43,376 views, right? 375 views. That's how serious these people are about this documentary. Please do not leave without watching the full video. So do not watch any other history without watching this full video. You will learn a lot from it.
In the immediate aftermath of the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, the American government came to the conclusion that a lone gunman had changed the course of human history by killing the most powerful man in the world with 3 rifle shots fired from the elevated window of an office building. And for half a century, they have stuck rigidly to this fabrication, while critics, scientists, playwrights, and poets have produced books and essays and films to prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that this version of our Western history is a physical impossibility. Over and over again, we have been told that this man did it by himself. He didn't have any help, and he did it because he was a lonely madman and a communist to boot. We are also meant to believe that there is nothing remotely suspicious in his being shot on live television in a basement full of police officers.
Now watch, guys. The person they told you killed the US president. This is him in a basement under a police station. In a police station, he was gunned down, and nobody searched the man that came there with a gun. We are not going to talk about the relationship between both of them now. I don't want to preempt what you're going to watch. You understand? But remember, they told you that this man, Lee Harvey Oswald, killed JFK. Please bear this in mind as we go forward. Remember what they told you. Let's continue. Thank you, David Mark, for the updates. You can be reading his comments too.
He had a chance to tell his side of the story. So there is quite clearly no need to investigate further. Of course, every thinking person knows this is absolute nonsense. And being nonsensical, it naturally leads thinking people to ask some very important questions, like, Why did the American government come up with such a lame and improbable scenario to account for what had happened? And then why did they stick with it so dogmatically for so many years afterwards? Exactly what and who are they protecting? And how can it be that even such venerable institutions as the BBC have played along with this charade in the intervening decades? We now know that there were actually 8 riflemen firing at the president on that day.
Please, this is a sniper, 1 sniper, 2, second sniper, third sniper, fourth sniper, fifth sniper, and the 6th sniper. 6 people. 6 people. Remember, the president was coming in through this road, through this place. He was killed somewhere between here and here. Somewhere between here and here. Please keep this in mind as they show you the photo of the man when he was, the clip of the man when he was shot dead. The killer shot was fired. See all these people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He will later tell us where the other 2 people are. Now you will bear these positions in mind as we go further.
We know where they were located in Dealey Plaza, and we know their names. However, those with sharp eyes will already be asking themselves why we were only showing the location of 6 assassins in this schematic. We're doing this because any casual onlooker who happened to be in Dealey Plaza at 12:29 on November 22nd, 1963, might well have caught sight of these 6. Many people did. Witnesses like Arnold Rowland, Richard Randolph Carr, Lee Bowers, Amos Hewins, Mary Mormon, they all gave precise descriptions of men they observed in the windows of the book depository and on the famous grassy knoll. But none of them observed 2 of the riflemen who shot at the president. No one did. And the reason why no one did is itself the key to the mystery. A mystery which begins with a very simple question. Supposing you wanted to shoot at a man on a barren, empty street without anybody seeing you, where could you possibly hide? However, the riflemen who took part in the assassination were not as important to an understanding of what the Kennedy assassination was really all about as were a group of 20 men who had gathered together the night before at the home of Dallas oil millionaire Clint Murchison. These men were a much more important part of the story than the assassins themselves because they hired the 8 snipers and paid them. We even know how much they paid them. So who were these men? What brought them together to orchestrate such a foul and despicable deed? Why did they, and more importantly, those who came after them, cover up the crime with such ruthless brutality for so long afterwards? And how can it be that these men and what they stood for has left an indelible legacy which still influences our daily lives right up to the present day?
Now watch the kill shots. Did you catch the kill shot? What the kill shot here? I want you to watch the kill shot. What the kill shot? It hit him from here. Now, how can you shoot a man from behind and he will fall backwards? No, when the shot is coming from behind, then he's supposed to fall forward. Are you catching it? Please let me go back a little and show you what I mean. Remember where the snipers were. Now, remember again how this guy fell when the kill shot hit him. Let's go again.
What brought them together to orchestrate such a foul and despicable deed? Why did they...
Watch as the car is approaching. Watch where the shot will be coming from. It's from the front, not the back. And if a bullet hits you from this, you are going to fall this way. And if it's from here, you're going to fall the other way. Are you getting? Because the force will push you where it's going to. You cannot stop the force of a bullet, no matter how strong you are.
They, and more importantly, those who came after them, cover up the crime with such ruthless brutality for so long afterwards. And how can it be that...
Now watch it. Watch. This is the guy. This is the guy we are talking about here. Watch where he will fall, how he will fall backwards. Meanwhile, the supposed killer was behind him at the book depository store.
These men and what they stood for has left an
The bullet is coming somewhere from here to here now. As soon as this car gets to this place, his head gets to this place, keep an eye on it.
Indelible legacy which still influences our daily lives right up to the present day. To answer these questions, we must inevitably step back into history. And most people will not like this very much, because most people have very little interest in history. This, however, is going to be a history lesson, quite unlike anything that anyone has ever heard. It certainly will be nothing like what we are taught in school, and yet it begins with a name which most people have heard, but probably won't be able to place. The name of E.H. Harriman. Who was E.H. Harriman?
Dynamite's ready, Butch.
Mr. E.H. Harriman himself, he had the confidence of...
Open the door or that's it. You think E.H. Harriman would get himself killed for you? Woodcock?
I work for Mr. E.H. Harriman on the Union Pacific Railroad.
This is the Union Pacific Railroad. My people, go and check the history of the Union Pacific Railroad. The scam that was the Union Pacific Railroad project. What you are seeing in your country, inflation of a budget, a railroad that would have gone straight from point A to point B, they will have to move like this. Just to make sure it's longer, and the longer it goes, the more money they collect. That is the history of E.H. Harriman. Like this 3 hour and 27 video. Believe me, if we start dissecting everything in it, it will take more than 24 hours to analyze just an hour of this video. Because if we go into the history, please get your pen and paper. Write down E.H. Harriman and the Union Pacific Railroad. Those of you in the USA, it will be best you people fact check me on this. You have friends, check people who read history, not this nonsense liberal history they are teaching people. Go and study the real history of that country you're in, because whatever is happening there is directly affecting every single country in Africa. The people you are hearing their names here are the people controlling your stock markets. They are the people controlling your presidents. They are the people controlling the foreign policy of the USA. And as in case you haven't noticed, the foreign policy of the USA and those of the European Union are not separate. The last time they had separate foreign policies, the whole world went to war. That was the First World War. The First World War again did not start because Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated. No, it started because of the Baghdad to Berlin Railroad. That was what caused the First World War. Let's continue.
And he entrusted me.
I'm sure Americans in particular will be amused to learn that Edward Henry Harriman was actually a real historical figure. This man was one of America's first industrial giants, and like the Rockefellers in oil and the Carnegies in steel, he got his start by borrowing money from the Rothschilds, of whom will he...
He got his start by borrowing money from who? The Rothschilds. Those are the people that own the US dollar in your pocket. The US dollar is not a property of the United States government. It belongs to the US Federal Reserve, and the US Federal Reserve is not under the control of the United States government. Ask questions.
Here more later, to create a monopoly for his own business, which was railroads. He was the 19th century railroad king. It was a monopoly which wouldn't be allowed today, and it helped in turn to create the Rockefeller oil monopoly. And this gave America's first industrial giants colossal power. These were the first people in human history, we mustn't forget, whose businesses were worth more than most countries. People whose fortunes dwarfed anything that the Caesars or the Tudors or the Medici ever dreamed of. So, being greedy, they used this power to engage in price fixing. Naturally, they formed a cartel. Their attitude was that they could charge whatever they liked for steel and oil and transporting goods on the railways. They knew that all American business was dependent on them, and they'd made sure there was no competition. So they could ignore market forces and charge pretty much whatever they liked. Now, this naturally caused resentment, and it's very interesting that the press at that time started calling these first Illuminati bankers and industrialists robber barons. Of course, once these fortunes began to be made, others naturally tried to get in on the act. One who succeeded was J.P. Morgan, who became a private banker during this period. But modern critics have discovered that far from being the richest man in America everyone thought he was, it turned out upon his death that Morgan actually only owned 17% of Morgan Bank. And that, like so...
Are you seeing it? This is the Morgan portfolio. Meanwhile, JP Morgan himself owns only 17%. The other 83 belongs to who? The Rothschilds. Just like the Rockefeller you are hearing about, their portfolio is not totally owned by them. It was when he died that people realized this. When you remember, JP Morgan was once the richest man in America. And what is this supposed to teach you? That the people you are seeing today, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, what do you call him? What is his name? Warren Buffett. Those are not billionaires, and they are not even anywhere near the top 500 richest people in the world. They are not anywhere near it. They are all servants. Imagine a whole JP Morgan. Remember, he was at the meeting that gave rise to the Federal Reserve Bank as we know it today in Jekyll's Island off the coast of Georgia in 1913. Are you getting me?
For many others, he was simply a front for the Rothschild family. 5 years after E.H. Harriman died and handed on the business to his sons, W. Averill Harriman and E. Rowland Harriman, this new breed of Western business moguls faced their first really big test with the coming of World War I. Once again, we must never forget that this was the first time in human history that a truly global conflict had been fought. It was sure to have long-lasting international repercussions, and many observers at the time had their doubts as to whether Western industrial capitalism, which was still in its infancy, could cope with the demands of war production. In the world economic recession which followed, many feared these fledgling industries might vanish altogether as countries struggled with debt and war reparations. But actually, Western capitalism emerged from World War I in a far stronger state than it was in at the beginning. So how could this be? The First World War taught the new class of international bankers and industrialists a very simple lesson. War is good for business. Take, for instance, Remington. We tend to associate their name with typewriters, but actually, they made most of the rifles and handguns used during the Great War.
Imagine being the person that made most handguns and rifles during a war. What do you think that means? You are rich. Now you know why people normally say that war is business. To sell weapons, to dominate people, subjugate a nation under your feet. Most people don't know this. Look at all these individuals dying. They think they are fighting. Some of them thought they were fighting for king and country. Some thought they were fighting for their country, not knowing that they are only being used as cannon folders for the rich men who have their financial differences. Are you getting me? Thank you, David Mark, for that JP Morgan. And the ship that sank was not actually Titanic. It's the Olympic, the sister ship. The Olympic. And all the people who worked in the dockyard in Ireland, where the ship was built, they were meant to sign a non-disclosure agreement, not to reveal anything that happened within the dockyard. Ask questions. Please, those of you in Ireland can do your own investigation.
And made a colossal fortune in the process. The banks, in their turn, lapped this up because it meant that defense contractors were having no trouble repaying the huge loans they had outstanding, and, best of all, the world's richest nations had to borrow huge sums from the merchant bankers in the first place to finance the war, the Americans and the British just as much as the Germans. And they would now be repaying these loans to the banks for decades to come at a steep rate of interest. For international merchant bankers, the Rothschilds in particular...
Watch. I care not what puppet is placed upon the throne of England to rule the empire on which the sun never sets. The man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply. This is a direct quote from Nathan Rothschild. Go to the old Nigerian flag. Check the colonial, even this one is still a colonial flag because we are still a colony of these people. You will see the British crown on one side. Then you see the Rothschild symbol, emblem, the insignia on the flag of Israel today. Now go check the document that established Israel as a country, the Balfour Declaration, addressed to who? Lord Rothschild, the same people. How did they take over the Bank of England? We've done many programs on it. It was during the Napoleon Wars, 1815. The same family we are funding Napoleon and funding the opposition at the same time. You know what that means? When both of you at the end of the war, no matter who wins, you all are owing him. And now the Bank of International Settlement, check the people that control it. These same people. The same people. That's why after a war, even the winners will take the war debt of the losers. Now you will be in debt. Ask any person within the Nigerian government how much Nigeria as a country was owing before the Civil War, and how far your debt skyrocketed. You thought all those weapons they were given to the federal government were for free? That was how you lost control to your resources. And you can't do anything. Are you getting me? The same people stir up strife every given time. Chase ExxonMobil, Shell, Chevron, the rest of them, all those Western corporations, chase them out of Nigeria today. If you are a northern president, a northerner, as a president of Nigeria, believe me, they would arm Igbo people the next day and tell them to go fight for their independence, so long you give them access to the same resources, to those same resources. This is how evil these people are. But most people don't know it yet.
In particular, the First World War had been a gift from heaven. And people watching this should ask themselves a simple question before passing judgment. Supposing you were in business during that war and the contract you had with the government to supply the troops with tin hats or boots or uniforms or gunpowder was netting you millions every year in profit. And then one day the war ended and your money stopped completely. What do you think your attitude to war might be? That war was good for business was not the only lesson the ruling classes learned during this period. The Russian Revolution of 1917 terrified rich people all over the world. Watching Lenin and Trotsky taking over such a vast area of the globe, the kings and queens of Europe's tiny sovereigns.
And one thing he missed there is this. Lenin and Trotsky were all funded by the same people. The target was to take out the Romanovs. And remember, the first attempt to set up a one-world government was thwarted by the Romanovs. Then the Rothschilds promised him that they will kill his entire family, and they are coming to take Russia. All the riots you were seeing in Russia then, before the Bolshevik Revolution, we are all funded and sponsored by these people, bankrolled 100%. Where did Lenin come from? Come back to Russia, Switzerland. Who are the people controlling the banks in Switzerland? Now, how was he able to amass such a wealth that he came in India in an armored train and with gold, actual gold? Gold. Because that was the main money then, not this paper money. Actual gold. Trotsky was living in a hotel in New York, 5-star hotel in New York. Who was funding him? Who was funding him? Who was taking care of his upkeeps? Are you noticing how these guys foment troubles everywhere they go to? Are you noticing it?
States in particular became extremely nervous. The question on all their minds was, Supposing the communist success in Russia should inspire their own working class to rise in revolt. Many of the crowned heads of Europe.
This is Tsar Nicholas II. This is King George V of England. Are you seeing the resemblance? Are you seeing anything yet? You know, all the European monarchies are related by blood. By blood. They are all related. And most of them, you can trace their ancestry back to the Greek Empire, back to Greece. A whole lot of them. This is the one they killed. The Bolsheviks slaughtered his children. His young daughters were all bayoneted. Tsar Nicholas II.
Like England's George V, had been related to Tsar Nicholas, and the brutal execution of the Tsar and his family, particularly the bayoneting of his young daughters, sent a shockwave through the upper classes of every nation. Did a similar fate lie in store for the royal families of Holland, Sweden, Spain, and England? This question was lying heavily on the thoughts of the elite when the First World War ended in 1918, and it had the effect of focusing the minds of the new Illuminati bankers and industrialists on the question of what to do for best with a defeated and dilapidated Germany. The population were poor, penniless, and worn out, yet the German economy still contained some of the most sophisticated and expensive industrial stock on the planet. The Illuminati sensed an opportunity. Supposing, as the world's first international businessmen, they could get their hands on Germany's steel mills, her coal mines, her factories, ports, and her shipbuilding industry. Over the years, certain names have become very familiar to those who maintain an interest in the Kennedy assassination. None more so than Allen Dulles, whom Kennedy fired after the Bay of Pigs disaster, and yet later he somehow managed.
Allen Dulles was the CIA director. Kennedy fired him after the Bay of Pigs disaster. Now, the same person, Allen Dulles, was selected to chair a committee that will look into the assassination of JFK. Guys, who is fooling who? Who is fooling who? Who is fooling who? Are you getting it already? Are you getting the joke already? Is it getting funnier? Or is it making you more angry? Let me know.
To chair the Warren Commission, which was supposed to be investigating Kennedy's death. Something few people know, however, is that Dulles and his older brother John Foster Dulles wrote the Treaty of Versailles.
Now, he and his brother wrote the Versailles Treaty, where they made Germans. Please, let it flow, please.
They were both lawyers of Sullivan and Cromwell, and it was largely they who decided that the German people must pay.
Sullivan and Cromwell. Guys, those of you in the USA, go and check the law firm in New York today. Check it in Washington. Everywhere you see it in the USA. Sullivan and Cromwell. Check the people who've come from that office to become attorney generals in the USA. To head every department, including lawyers for the Pentagon, the lobbyists, the war machines in the USA. Sullivan and Cromwell, go look it up. Don't believe me? Look it up. Jot down these names.
War reparations totaling 135 billion marks.
135 billion marks of that time. Now you will see how many years it was supposed to take Germany to rebuild. Watch.
A mind-boggling sum at that time, which today translates into 250 trillion. When this was announced, the legendary UK economist J. Maynard Keynes maintained it was a ludicrous sum. And he did a swift calculation from which he reasoned that it would take Germany until 1988, 60 years hard labor.
Imagine 60 years hard labor. Look at how big the German economy is. So it was going to take them 60 years of everything they are getting to pay off the war reparations. What do you call that? Huh?
To pay it off. But it didn't. So why? Maynard Keynes sensed that the Dulles brothers, backed as they were by the new Illuminati, were trying quite deliberately to sabotage the German economy, and they succeeded. As mass unemployment led to hyperinflation, the famous stories of people papering their walls with worthless Reichsmarks and handing over their life savings for a loaf of bread soon followed. With German investors on their knees, the new Illuminati moved in and began buying up shares of stock in German industry at a knockdown price.
Yes.
Now, why did they do this? The cynical mind would say to make a buck, but it really wasn't that simple. What they wanted was to make Germany strong again so that she would become a bulwark against Soviet communism.
No.
Germany was fighting for its life. Certain measures were needed to protect it from its enemies. I cannot say that I am sorry we applied those measures.
Pay attention.
We were a bulwark against Bolshevism.
We were a bulwark against Bolshevism. That is a part of the truth, not the whole truth. Please listen to this one very, very carefully.
We were a pillar of Western culture. A bulwark and a pillar the West may yet wish to retain.
It was around this time that the newspapers, which these same rich people owned, made sure the word Bolshi, a truncation of Bolshevik, entered the English language, so that we would associate Bolshevism with...
Now, let me tell you what it is. The revolution they caused in Russia spiraled out of control. That was why they needed the Germans. And remember, the Russians, when Lenin took power, he took Russia out of the war. He took Russia out of the war. So it didn't go according to their plan. Now they had to use these people as a bulwark against this war. Now you know the origin of the war between fascism and communism. Are you getting it? Are you understanding what's going on, guys?
Aggression. And it was with these subtle and not so subtle methods that the international elite began to shape our destiny for the remainder of the 20th century. The intellectuals of the period were furious. They were incensed, they were depressed, and you get a very good feeling of the political atmosphere of the time from the diaries of the Labour politician Harold Nicholson, when he writes,
Watch. We have lost our willpower since our willpower is divided. The people of the governing class think only of their own fortunes, which means hatred of the rich. Our class interests cut across our national interests, and I go to bed in gloom. He said this in 1917. Does it sound like what you are seeing today? Check your own country. Are you understanding what's going on? It's always a rich man's trick.
we have lost our willpower since our willpower is divided. The people of the governing class think only of their own fortunes, which means hatred of the Reds. Our class interests cut across our national interests, and I go to bed in gloom. With such heavy investment coming into the country, particularly from America and Britain, Germany began to recover very rapidly. And then the new class of international financiers began searching around for a homegrown, authoritarian political movement they could support. What they needed was someone they could count on to be both aggressive and expansionist. Ultra-right-wing causes, which at normal times would have been ignored and marginalized, were suddenly given very careful consideration, until finally the rich elite found a man and an idea which they felt might deliver the political outcome they desired. Adolf Hitler and his fledgling National Socialist Party.
Now, let me tell you something most people don't know about Adolf Hitler. The mother was a servant in a Rothschild household in Bavaria. The mother was a servant, and some rumors had it that the person that fathered him wasn't his real father. it was the rich one of somebody in that house the mother was working in. That was why his father hated him. His father was very, very abusive to him. Are you getting me? Then I can't confirm that one. But when you piece many things together, you find out that it's actually true. Just like Princess Diana and who her real father is and why she married into the royal family. When you look at it, they all look alike. They all sound alike. And we all know that nothing just happens for nothing. Nothing happens for... Of course, Adolf Hitler did not die in 1945. We know that.
At the same time that the world's rich elite began grooming Hitler for his starring role, they also became even more deeply involved in military intelligence. I say even more because the Dulles brothers, Averell Harriman, and the chief of Remington, Samuel Bush, a man referred to as the original Merchant of Death, had a relationship with American military intelligence stretching back into World War I. The lesson here being that the American variant of military intelligence started out with businessmen protecting their investments. Just as...
Are you understanding it? It started out with businessmen protecting their interests. Just like today, the CIA are the ones they are using today, protecting the business interests of the mega corporations of America. When you hear them talk about our national interest, no, they mean the interest of the corporations. It has been like that from inception. From inception, the CIA is not there for the interest of the American people. No, the interest of the corporations that own America. Remember, only 3 corporations control 95% of all the corporations in America: Blackstone, Vanguard, and the Bank of America. Those are the people the CIA works for. Please tell me how the CIA destroying Africa, Iraq, Africa and the Middle East, basically. How does that protect the US interest? And they think the CIA is there to work for the people. No. Guys, it did not start today. It had been like that since forever.
As if they were a mafia. Right from the very beginning, it had nothing to do with national security and everything to do with money. In Hitler, the Illuminati had found a ready-made stooge who could be the face of this autocratic new movement. And when the time came to put together a new secret intelligence service, which was going to help protect all the money they had tied up in the German economy, these men also found one was readily available: the Order of the Skull and Bones at Yale University. Discussion of secret societies is something of a minefield because it so easily invites ridicule. It is very difficult for the general public to accept that the super rich leaders of their Western world can possibly be as mad and deranged as they actually are. The public, generally speaking, are sensible and level-headed people who have to balance their checkbooks, so they inevitably tend to laugh at stories about Satanists and occult believers. But if you talk to any well-informed historians, they are all aware of the important role which various secret societies have played in human history. The Black Hand always played a pivotal role in the history.
This is the people that assassinated the Archduke Ferdinand, the crown prince of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Remember, it was his assassination in Sarajevo, they told you, was the beginning of the First World War. No. Before that assassination happened, the British troops were already amassing at Basra, southern Iraq, the place they found that oil. Meanwhile, there have been problems. Archduke Ferdinand was actually averting the wars. Without his assassination, they would see, they gave the information. Who told these people about his movement, and why did his vehicle stop after escaping the first attempt? And the driver had to stop at a place where the shooter got a point-blank shot at him, just like JFK's vehicle came to a halt. He grounded to a halt Meanwhile, the black hand you're seeing is connected to the Vatican. To what? The Vatican.
Of the mafia. If you
Of
talk
course,
to
it's a
anyone in the
mafia.
UK who is political and read books, they are always aware that the ruling class of Britain, including every member of the royal family, is a Freemason.
Of course.
And the emblem of the death's head was sported on the caps of the high-ranking Nazi officers from the very beginning. The symbols of these secret societies always seem to play around with some kind of skull and bones motif, so that it's abundantly clear what their mission statement is. These people are pirates, willing to commit any crime for big money. And they first became established in America at Yale University in 1833 with General William Huntington Russell and Alphonso Taft. Of course, being a secret society, they made other people curious about them. And in 1867, some undergraduates from a rival campus society broke into their headquarters to see what this skull and bones thing was all about. They reported that inside there were lots of lamps and candles, many dilapidated human skulls lying next to a fool's cap and bells, and it was morbidly dark because the walls were covered in black velvet. Having established a suitably satanic atmosphere, initiation rites were then performed on new members, who had to engage in group masturbation and sodomy while they lay in a coffin. Now, it's very easy to dismiss all of this as bizarre, silly, and irrelevant until you see the list of Skull and Bones members who have ruled America since Skull and Bones.
Now, check the number of their members who've ruled America since then, even who've become the secretaries of state.
Began. Although they only graduate 15 initiates a year, those 15 have always gone on to occupy the very highest positions in American society. US Secretary of State William Max Evarts was a bonesman, as was Treasury Secretary Franklin McVeigh, Chief Justice Simeon Eben Baldwin, and the 27th President of the United States, William Howard Taft. The founder of American football, Walter Camp, came through Skull and Bones, as did the very first chairman of the Federal Reserve, Pierre J.
The very first chairman of the Federal Reserve, Pierre J. Are you getting it? Class of 1890. And the Bushes.
Director of Standard Oil, Percy Rockefeller. Averell Harriman, the son of E.H. Harriman and founder of Harriman Brothers, the largest investment bank in the world, was a bonesman, and so were both of the George Bush presidents. During his premiership, John F. Kennedy was surrounded by bonesmen like McGeorge Bundy and David Acheson, son of Dean Acheson. Kennedy knew these men refer to each other as brothers under the skin. They swear an oath of secrecy and then ruthlessly vow to help each other's careers in any way they can throughout their lives, even if it means committing murder. In Britain, every literate person knows that all of the top police officers are Freemasons, because if there are 10 candidates for a top job, a Mason will always select a brother Mason for the post. Skull and Bones works the same way, and JFK took this problem so seriously that he even made speeches warning America about the danger of secret societies.
Now listen to this speech. Pay attention. They told you that JFK's favorite speech was "I have a dream." Think about what you will do for America, not what America will do for you. No, this is his favorite speech. It was and still is till this day. Pay attention.
Very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically.
He knew the people on this list were neither silly nor irrelevant, because he knew they were the real holders of power in America, operating as they were, as an unelected shadow government, accountable to no one. And it was these same people who brought Hitler to power during the 1920s by becoming business partners with leading German industrialists. The reality of the situation.
This is Kaiser William. And he is related to the British royal family. Are you listening? He's related, the British from royal family, rather, are all related to him. From the Queen's husband downwards, the brothers, the sisters of the Queen's husband, all married to German SS officers. And to become an SS officer, you will trace your blood to pure German blood. I think it was 5 generations behind. Do you know how many years that is? Those are the people that are still running things up till this day.
Prevailing at that time can be very easily understood simply by looking at the cover of Fritz Thiesen's book, I Paid Hitler, on which he is depicted as a puppet master.
Please read this book, I Paid Hitler. You will see the people that actually funded and sponsored him. Please buy the book, I Paid Hitler. If you really want to know history and what happened, things they are not telling you.
Controlling Hitler's strings. Thiesen was a billionaire industrialist. He was the man who built the Bismarck. His company, United Steelworks, made 3/4 of all Germany's steel.
Are you hearing the Bismarck? Are you understanding the people that funded and controlled this guy and everything he did? Those are the same people that took him to Argentina after the war.
And he joined together with Skull and Bones members Prescott Bush and George Herbert Walker.
This Prescott Bush is the patriarch of the Bush family. George Herbert Walker is the person he married his daughter. Now, this Walker is directly related to the British royal family. Now you know the link between the Bushes and Queen Elizabeth. Are you getting it? Prescott Bush is the private banker of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi party in USA, the Union Bank of New York. History, guys.
Walker to financially assist the Nazi party.
Yes.
Together, they recruited head of the German central bank, Hjalmar Schacht, to the fascist cause, and then combined with other leading industrialists to sign the letter which convinced Hindenburg to appoint Hitler as Chancellor on the 20th of February, 1933.
Watch. You don't need to tell me that Prescott Bush was a cocaine mover. His sons, the family, this is their family business. Barry Seal, Pablo Escobar's private pilot who uses C-130. C-130 is a CIA cargo plane to fly drugs from Colombia to Mena, Arkansas in the USA. When he was assassinated, he was murdered. He was killed at a phone booth. And the last person he called, the card they saw in his possession, was George Bush Sr.'s business card, private number. And he never called. Are you telling me that Barry Seal couldn't afford a cellular and he had to call him from a phone booth? Who told the person that told him to call him from that phone booth was the person that sent the person that killed him? Yes, Barry Seal. And it was because Webb, the journalist, Gary Webb, was closing in on them. Now you know the link between the Clinton family and the Bush family. It did not start today. Hillary Clinton, the father was one of the mob bosses of Chicago, dealt directly with Al Capone. Go figure, go check it out. Criminals.
Had anyone inquired around this time about the postal address of the Nazi party, they could legitimately have been...
Watch, the Nazi party, 39 Broadway, New York. That was the headquarters of the Nazi party in America. Guess what other building was there? Union Bank of New York, owned by who? Prescott Sheldon Bush.
Been told that it was 39 Broadway, Manhattan, New York, because this was where Averell Harriman, Prescott Bush, and George Herbert Walker kept their office.
That was
being no fool, Fritz Thyssen used their banking services to set up secret cash funds funneled through another bank in Rotterdam, the Bank voor Handel en Scheepvaart.
What year was this? What year? This has to be 1930. Okay, 1934. Please check what $3 million of 1934 is in today's money. Do the math.
To finance the building of the first official Nazi Party headquarters, the Brown House. This was all done with the full cooperation of the Dutch bankers, who orchestrated this entire sinister business with the assistance of the Thiessen family lawyer, Allen Dulles. Of course, the Germans themselves were ecstatic. We've all seen the newsreels from that time in which they are stomping around in their jackboots, acting like a master race, because they had swallowed the propaganda that they were being led to glory by a superman who had rebuilt the economy and Germany's infrastructure.
Just like Nnamdi Kanu is leading these ones to slaughter. Give these guys weapons and they will become like the Nazis and bring destruction upon their own country.
By himself. This was a lie. Hitler didn't have any money.
Of course.
You can only build autobahns with one thing, capital investment. And that investment came mainly from America. The Nazis were also given a lot of help from the City of London, help which came mainly in the shape of Sir Montague Collett Norman,
yes,
Governor of the Bank of England. Norman was connected to Bush and Walker through the merger of Harriman's with the Brown brothers,
yes,
who traded in London as Brown Shipley, hence Brown Brothers Harriman. The people behind this multinational investment bank had a long-standing racial tradition.
These guys, the same people, are you seeing it? The same people that ran the slave plantations where they were planting this cotton, the cotton fields. The same people, they've not changed. The same people, they've not changed. How many years? God. And let me tell you, if not for machines, they wouldn't have ended slavery. They didn't end the transatlantic slavery because the people protested. They could have protested for 1,000 years and they wouldn't care. Even though most people started becoming aware of what was going on and what was happening, because their people can now go to Africa and come back by ship. They were bringing the news of what was happening and everything. But the thing that led them to stop trading in humans openly, because it's still happening, was the coming of the steam engine technology. They know that a machine can now produce what 200 slaves cannot produce in a week, under a day. So they let you go. Now, the capital became the natural resources you need to power those machines or to manufacture those machines. That was where your coal, digging your coal started. The coal Germany was using. Remember the British, when they were taking our coal, where were they taking them to? Who were they selling them to? The industrialists. So machines ended those human trafficking business known as the transatlantic slave trade. Without the machines, they will still be doing it. Guess what? The same people who were buying humans were the ones controlling the economies then. And they still control everything till this day. Till this very day.
Few British people at the time were aware that they only enjoyed relatively cheap clothing because it was all made from slave cotton, brought from America on the Brown Brothers ships and sold to British mill owners. Montague Norman was heir to this colossal Brown Brothers fortune.
Are you seeing it? Are you seeing how they are connected directly to the British royal family? Watch them. Watch the slaves. Your ancestors. Someone related to you could be in this photo. Because their names were stolen, you can hardly tell where they are from. Because their names were stolen from them. Are you seeing it, guys? Watch them. Watch a little child. How old do you think this child is? This child, oh man. Oh shit. This child is less than 5. But you can see from her face, she's already walking. Look at this boy. How old do you think this boy is? As if walking in the fields is not enough, at night they will still rape them, male and female alike. Are you seeing evil? Are you seeing evil? Oh, man.
Fortune. As the de facto head of world banking, he made no secret.
And the stupid Nnamdi Kanu would even be telling you that the black race is the... Come on, can someone shoot that guy immediately? Can someone shoot that guy already? For how many years? It's still happening. It's still happening. Oh.
Of his only being interested in the richest 1% of people. And even as the newspapers began to fill with stories of Nazi concentration camps, he still declared himself to be Hitler's most avid supporter. We must lend Nazi Germany 90 million marks, he declared. It may never be repaid, but it will be less of a loss than the fall of Nazism. One might have thought Sir Montagu's close personal friends, the royal family, would have been outraged by his comments. Nothing could be further from the truth. It is part of the remit of this film to try and make people aware of the tricks the rich play in order to control how we think. George Orwell once said that the ruling class in every age have tried to impose a false view of the world upon their followers.
Watch. The ruling class in every age have tried to impose a false view of the world upon their followers. True, till this day. Read his book, 1984. Everything he wrote there has happened and more. He couldn't even imagine what's happening now. Let me tell you, as we are talking, people are making plans on how to rig the US election in favor of Joe Biden. To those of you that are buying the nonsense you're buying, ask yourself, how can a senile man rule the USA? They're trying to avoid the debate. The guy can hardly talk, and you think it's about this nonsense that telling you racism. What racism? Check all the corporations. They are all on one side. Black Lives Matter, you think it's for you? Really? If Black lives actually matter, why is it that under a pandemic, they cost? They devalued your own currency. Huh? Can your country actually control their currency supply? Are you serious? Keep on buying the bullshit.
And there's no better example than the way in which the British have been duped into believing that their royal family are called Windsor.
Of course they are not.
From English kings like Henry VIII.
Story.
The British royal family are actually German.
Of course.
And their real name is Saxe-Coburg-Gotha.
This is their name. This is their name. This is the link. This is their ancestry. Francis of Saxe-Coburg. Sheffield. This is the person lived between 1750 and 1806. Dukes of Saxe-Coburg and Sheffield. Watch them. Watch it. See, Leopold I of Belgium. The second was the one that decimated Congo. Okay? See the lineage. See their roots. Can you see it? Before you buy anything in the media, just check the people at the side you are on and the people on the opposing side. So those of you that are watching the US election with what you're hearing on CNN, BBC, and the world nonsense, remember that if you are on Joe Biden's side, you are on the side of the British monarchy. You are on the side of the European Union. The people stealing your resources, they cannot build factories to manufacture those things in your place. They rather move the factory to China, then steal your resources, move them to China, produce and bring to Europe to sell. Then from Europe, they give you the finished product. Your agriculture, you can't even sell to them directly. Unless they are the ones buying up your farms and producing it themselves. That way, they will pay you slave labor and still ship them to your place. Are you getting what's going on? Are you understanding it? It's the same people. Come on. Oh.
The only change to Windsor after Windsor Castle in 1917
Yes.
to hide the fact that they were German during the First World War. Prince Harry, in honor of his German roots, has been known to dress as a Nazi on several occasions.
This is Prince
Dozens
Harry.
of critics have pointed
Those of you, Prince Harry, and this is the marriage between Prince Harry and the Watch your Prince
the
Harry.
British have been duped into believing
Wait, I'm
that their
coming.
royal family are called Windsor and descend from English kings like Henry VIII. The British royal family are actually German, and their real name is Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. They only changed it to Windsor after Windsor Castle in 1917 to hide the fact that they were German during the First World War. Prince Harry...
Isn't this your Prince Harry? This is in the 21st century. Isn't this your Prince Harry? Harry wedding. Those of you that watch it, shame on you. Watch it. Keep on being ashamed of yourselves since you refuse to listen. You refuse to study. Come on. It's a shame that in this day and age, you still have to teach people these things. Every information you need is before you. Piece them together. Focus on what matters. Then you solve every problem you think you have. Those are the people that decide who will become your president, whether you like it or not. In Africa. Kai.
in honor of his German roots, has been known to dress as a Nazi on several occasions. Dozens of critics have pointed out that the Duke of Edinburgh's brother was the head of the Nazi SS.
Of course, the Duke of Edinburgh, his brother, the Queen's husband, this is his brother, the head of Nazi SS. Look at him here. See the Duke of Edinburgh here. His brother is was the head of the Nazi SS. Watch the Duke of Edinburgh. Watch his brother. Can it be clearer than that? How many of you in the UK know about this? Those of you in the UK that think you are living in a free society, I am sorry for you. I have a special someone in the UK. If I tell you what she's passing through in the UK, just because of what she posts on Facebook, you will think you're free. It's because you've not started posting things. You are using social media as for what they made it. They want you to be posting cat photos, your breakfast, your holidays, everything. Keep on giving them your information. That's what they want, not what we are doing here. Not what we are doing here. Are you getting it? Is it getting into your head, guys? Wake the hell up. Oh.
And King Edward VIII, before he abdicated to marry the American divorcee Wallace Simpson, visited Hitler to make it abundantly clear to the whole world that he too was a Nazi. He even signed his name, Herzog von Windsor.
See his name. Huh?
Thinking people during this period realized that this whole thing with kissing up to the Führer somehow transcended national boundaries. The rich people from the most diverse countries had bonded together because they all shared a common goal. The kings and the queens and the international bankers and industrialists wanted to make certain communism could never succeed. They were determined they weren't going to finish up like the Russian royal family, and they were determined to hang on to their money. They were much more afraid of the ordinary working people in their own countries than they were of fascist Germany.
Of course, because if it happens, it will be the 18th century France all over again. And this time around, it won't be people like Robespierre. Why do you think they don't? They keep showing you Black Lives Matter nonsense every day. The yellow vest in France. How many of you see their protest? And they are still protesting because that is the authentic protest. You will see Black Lives Matter everywhere, even in football. Even in football, your black football players, dummies. Now, check it. If Black lives actually matter, ask a black footballer in Africa how difficult it is to get a contract in Europe. a different standard for African players from the standard the Western players are using. Even the South American players are better than you. Why? Those South American countries are controlled by Europeans. Till this day, the president of Mexico is a European. The president of Brazil is a European. The president of Chile is a European. The president of Bolivia is a European. Evo Morales was the only okay, him and the what do you call it? The Venezuelan president Maduro. We are the only non-Europeans in the entire American continent. Now they've removed him. Check them. Colombia, ruled by Europeans. And you see the ignorance in the minds of some people. When Americans say they don't want Mexican, they say, oh, they are racist. What? The same Europeans ruling America are the same people ruling Mexico. How is Spanish? Is Spanish an American language? No. The name is in the name. The devil is in the details. Spanish means Spain. And that thing you are calling, that's not like a Spanish language. Oh. It's Castile. Castile. They've dominated every other people that made up the country we call Spain today. The Visigoths are still the ones controlling Spain today. The Spanish royal family today, they are Bourbons. You can trace them to France. King Louis and the rest. And from there, the Normans. Oh.
And this prevailing sentiment amongst the world's ruling class led America's elite to attempt a fascist coup d'etat in 1934. I hope it will be plain to people by now that Hitler's economic miracle is the greatest myth in human history. There was no economic miracle. There are no miracles. And if there are, why can't the Germans do it all again now?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to construct a network of new roads and new steelworks and new factories, you need one thing: money. You need investment. And the investment didn't come from Hitler. It came from Brown Brothers Harriman and their business associate, Fitz Thiessen. It came from Hjalmar Schacht and his best friend, Sir Montague Collett Norman. It came from men like Axel Wennergren, the Swedish multimillionaire arms manufacturer, and
Swedish multimillionaire and arms manufacturer. Now, do you know the link between the Swedish royal family and the British royal family? Huh? The Vikings. You people watched the movie Vikings and you thought he told you the real story of the Vikings. Really? Do you know that the Vikings came to Turkey too? In fact, the Ottomans were so afraid of them that they were not allowed to come to this my side of Istanbul. Those of you that are living in Beylikdüzü, that was the area they gave them. You know, when I told you people you are not living in Istanbul, you thought it was a joke. They just unearthed an ancient Viking settlement. These people didn't trust them to the point that for you to come into this part of Istanbul as a Viking, you will not be more than 35 people. And you are not allowed to stay there past sundown. Yes. Do you know that the Vikings actually intermarried, their warriors actually intermarried with the British, the French, the Spanish, and the rest of them? Do you know that? Did they even tell you that story? You think the Viking movie you are watching is teaching you history? Think again. Bravo. Wake up from your sleep.
Charles Beddoes, the French business mogul. These people were all in the same bed with their Nazi friends, the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, the Dulles brothers,
okay, David Mack,
Prescott Sheldon Bush, and George Herbert Walker, with whom they'd created...
This is Prescott Sheldon Bush and George Herbert Walker. Remind you, Prescott Bush married into this person's family. He loved the family so much that he named his son after his father-in-law. Herbert Walker who, by the way, was directly related to the British royal family. And you said that these people did this one, Prescott Bush, death in cocaine. Who killed China with opium? It's the British royal family. They even had to go to war with China because they refused to accept opium into their place. We did a program on it, Jardine Matheson. Please, those of you in Hong Kong, if I'm lying, say that I'm lying. Jardine Matheson, those two people, Jardine was a spy sent there by the British monarch. He even came to Africa. Hong Kong, China did not annex Hong Kong. Hong Kong has always belonged to China. I hate China. You all know how bad I hate China. But I'm not going to lie against them because I hate them. No, I am going to stay on the path of truth as a historian, as a researcher, as a history student. I am going to stay on the path of truth. It has always been their business. Ask people in Yangon, Myanmar, the place you call Myanmar today, Burma in those days. Ask Indians. Some people.
The Union Bank for laundering Nazi money. And with stage one of their...
Remember the name of the bank again? The Union Bank. Hold on.
Millionaire arms manufacturer, and Charles Beddoes, the French business mogul. These people were all in the same bed with their Nazi friends, the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, the Dulles brothers, Prescott Sheldon Bush, and George Herbert Walker, with whom they created the Union Bank.
Have you seen the people that created the Union Bank? That Union Bank of New York. Meanwhile, Prescott Bush was put, as he said, he was a senator. He was a senator and the father of two presidents. A father of two presidents. The Dulles brothers. All of them directly linked to the British royal family. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to reality.
For laundering Nazi money. And with stage one of their plan for world domination complete, they now turned to the second phase, which was meant to be the overthrow of American democracy and the imposition of fascist government upon the United States.
Just like they are going to do, they are going to try again in the 2020 elections. Like they are going to try in the 2020 elections. Ask yourself, what type of democracy is that in America that the same people who they want their independence from are supporting one party? Do you know that almost every democratic official is under one blackmail or another? Did you even study the case of Anthony Weiner? Did you see what was on his computer? You think the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, they have as long as you've made a call to the USA or you've received a call from the USA, everything on your phone is in their database. Everything is on their database. Stored somewhere in Arizona. Are you getting me?
In order to pull this off, these Nazis raised money from America's richest families, many of whom, in this new consumerist society, had become household names. The Colgate family, the Birdseye family.
Watch the Colgate family, the Birdseye family. Watch the name DuPont. It's coming.
Family. The DuPont family.
Yes.
The Rockefeller family.
The Rockefeller Standard Oil. This Standard Oil owns Shell, Exxon, Mobil, Chevron, Canon 76. What again? Go and check it. Monopolies. Watch them. When you go to the people that control the Council of Foreign Relations, the members of Council of Foreign Relations, all of them are represented. Now, all these four, you see, control how many, what percentage of the market? Over 90, okay, let me not exaggerate. over 85% of every market they are in. Meanwhile, all of them are still under the three corporations I named you: the Vanguard, Blackstone, and Bank of America. Do you now know who the laws of the universe are?
People handed over millions to the American financiers of Hitler so they could hire, train, and supply a private army which would attempt to overthrow the democratically elected government of Franklin Delano Roosevelt and impose fascist dictatorship in America.
Yes.
Of course, it's natural to wonder, considering they had such advantages, how on earth they failed to pull it off.
FDR broke up the entire monopoly in the USA. Do you know it was because of him they put term limits on the US presidency? Huh? Even though they derailed him during the last days of his administration. Do you know that?
The simple answer is that they chose the wrong man.
Yes.
Because their choice to lead this Nazi insurrection was Major General Smedley Butler.
This is the guy that wrote the book I told you to read. I've read it severally. War is a racket. They wanted him to lead the fascist coup against the US. Just like today, if people like, what do you call it, Mark Esper and the rest of them, James Mattis, Donald Trump, he knows why he removed James Mattis. Someone of that caliber is the person they will always use. Do you know that Mattis is actually under their blackmail? If I tell you his crimes, you will shake, you will shiver. Major General Smedley Butler. Let me get you the book. That was the man they used to take over South America. He was in Asia too. War is a racket. He wrote this book. Look at the back cover. Now, let me read this one for you. I spent 3 years in the Marines, most of my time being a high-class muscle man for big business. That is the American corporations. For big business, for Wall Street and the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer for capitalism. From What is a Racket? Read this book. Read this book.
Darlington Butler, the most decorated soldier of the period and in all of American history, perhaps the most unsung hero of all. Because Smedley Butler was the most genuine Democrat and lover of liberty the world has ever seen.
I appeared before the...
Now watch the speech he gave, where he exposed them. Watch it.
Congressional Committee, the highest representation of the American people, under subpoena to tell what I knew of activities, which I believe might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship. The plan as outlined to me was to form an organization of veterans.
The plan as outlined to me was to form an organization of veterans.
To use it as a bluff or a club, at least, to intimidate the government. Or as a club, at least, to intimidate the government and break down our democratic
institutions. Read it, my people.
Institutions. The upshot of the whole thing was that I was supposed to lead an organization of 500,000 men, which would be able to take over the functions of government. My main interest in all this is to preserve our democratic institutions. I want to retain the right to vote, the right to speak freely, and the right to write. If we maintain these basic principles, our democracy is safe. No dictatorship can exist with suffrage, freedom of speech, and press.
Yes.
Smedley Butler tricked the plotters into thinking he was interested for just long enough until he was sure who all the major players were, and then he told the president. This put FDR in a quite impossible position. America at that time was just coming out of the Great Depression. The last thing he wanted was to cause another economic downturn, and he feared that if he scooped up all the leading bankers and captains of industry in the United States and threw them all in jail, the country just might fall apart.
Now, FDR, the wife's side, from the wife was with them. He doesn't know. What's the name of this military officer? Captain somebody. I will get the name and post it. He was actually spying on him. His advisors were all under their blackmail. The operation Jeffrey Epstein ran was not new. No. It was as old as the empires. Guys, the world is deeper than you know. Believe me.
So what could he do? To Smedley Butler's utter incredulity, he chose, in the end, to do nothing. In spite of the fact that these men had
Now,
committed
he chose to do nothing. Why didn't you shoot them all? Arrest them. What are they going to do? Flee to where? As at then, the whole Europe was weak. FDR didn't do it because he is a company man, but wasn't deep into it. That's why they will never put a man they don't have many deaths on as the US president. If they had a single death on Donald Trump, they would have dropped it. They have no dirt on him. No dirt on him. He said grab them by the pussy. These are, compare that with Bush that killed millions of people around the world. Compare that with Clinton that killed millions in Eastern Europe. Compare that to the bombs they are using to compare that to the millions dying in Africa because of their sanctions. Cuba, the entire South and North America, Central America too. Compare that to that.
treason and should have been hanged. Their power was such that they were not even charged, let alone tried. And so great was their influence, they were able to keep America out of the war until December the 7th, 1941. With the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, Roosevelt finally realized he had to do something. His response was the Trading with the Enemy Act, which allowed him to seize assets like the Union Bank, through which Bush, Walker, and Harriman had been.
Bush, Walker, and Harriman, three heavyweights. Remember, all connected to Sullivan and Cromwell. All of them, they had their head offices in that building, 39 Broadway, New York. Is it beginning to make sense to you? He seized it all, but we watch how it ended.
Been financing Thiessen. Roosevelt didn't realize, however, that it was already a case of too little, too late. Because without his knowledge, American business moguls had been tumbling over one another for 2 years in their efforts to assist and do business with the Hitler regime. Typical of this American spirit of enterprise was Sosthenes Ben, the president of AT&T, who flew immediately to Berlin when war was declared to put in Hitler's foot.
AT&T, those of you in the USA, the owner of AT&T went and installed state-of-the-art telephone line for Hitler and the Nazis. Are you getting that? Huh? Just like Henry Ford was using his plant in Germany to manufacture the engines the German armored tanks were running on, the Panzer team. He built that. Without Henry Ford, there wouldn't be Panzer. Have you seen how the same people sponsored both sides? Whichever side wins, they win.
Phone lines. He gave the Nazis the most high-tech, state-of-the-art telecommunications system in the world at that time, so that Hitler could rule the European mainland with the maximum efficiency. Rich men have been hiring thugs to do their dirty work, especially to frighten people, since human civilization began. What people have to try to appreciate is that Nazism, in reality, was simply the first time in human history that the rich had enough wealth to hire an entire country of thugs to do their dirty work. Some of the most emotive images in world history are those of the Nazi war machine sweeping across the Low Countries to begin their occupation of France. And people have always assumed that the trucks used for the miles-long troop convoys must have been German trucks. But if anyone at that time had taken the trouble to lift up the cowling and look at the engine, they would have found these were actually Ford trucks, which had been built with personal permission from Henry Ford, who was sitting in his office 4,000 miles away in Dearborn, Michigan, a service for which he was given the Grand Cross of the Eagle, the highest honor the Nazis ever bestowed on a civilian.
Ford sued the U.S. Army, the U.S. government.
This guy sang about it. Now, let me tell you another joke. What do you call it? The American bombers, when they were bombing Germany, they bombed the city. I think it was in Cologne or where his plant, the Ford plant, was located. American soldiers, American Air Force bombed Henry Ford's factory where he was manufacturing engines and even weapons for the Nazis that were killing American troops. Guess what? The American government still paid him damages for destroying his company. Is it beginning to make sense now? Are you learning? Kai.
In the 50s, because during the war, the U.S. Air Force bombed their cake-making facilities in Germany, and this is true. And what was it, like 52 or something? They sued the U.S. government for destroying their factories, and they won. They won the lawsuit.
Yes, they won the lawsuit.
So I had to write a little song for Henry here. Ford built tanks for the Nazis, and the Nazis used those tanks to gun down lots of soldiers in the U.S. Army ranks. Yes, Henry Ford was a fascist and a nasty one was he. He built tanks for anyone for the proper fee.
Hitler so admired Henry Ford, he kept a life-size portrait of him on the wall next to his desk, and even his legendary Panzer tanks were tainted by these sorts of practices, because they were made by I.G. Farben, who had entered into a cartel with the Rockefellers' Standard Oil.
Now, imagine the gas they used were made by I.G. Farben, American company, made those gases. Are you getting it? Another thing you should know is this. The Dutch royal family actually gave Hitler the oil that powered the machines that invaded the Netherlands. The Belgian royal family, go to Ypres today, they still commemorate the people that died there. But have they arrested their royal families? No, because they don't know. That's why in their schools they keep telling you this nonsense. Gender identities, this and that, so you don't focus on real things and where the danger is coming from.
The government in Washington knew all about this and largely did nothing. Licensing arrangements for trading with the enemy in wartime were issued without any fuss, even to the extent that after the occupation of France, the Chase and Morgan banks in Paris simply carried on doing business as usual.
Chase and Morgan Bank.
The incredible truth, which the...
Now, why didn't Hitler seize the Chase and Morgan Bank in France when they invaded France? Huh? Oh, man.
Rich elite have managed to hide from the world for 70 years through their control over school books and our education system.
Of course.
Is that the Nazi war machine was actually an American business.
Of course.
And for the Rockefellers, DuPonts, Harrimans, Walkers, and Bushes in particular, it was a highly lucrative business. For their part, Coca-Cola's contribution to the war effort was to sell billions of soft drinks to the thirsty Nazis while they were strafing and bombing Allied soldiers, particularly in very hot regions. In the desert, where refrigerators tend to be scarce, There were even stories of Messerschmitt pilots wrapping wet towels around bottles of Coke, tying them to their aircraft, then flying up to altitude, where the cold and the wind chill turned the wet towel into a solid block of ice. They would then dive down, crack open the towel, and enjoy an ice-cold Coke in the desert. If they had wanted to, the Western multinationals could have grounded the Luftwaffe and stopped the war at any time, because the German aircraft were totally dependent on imported supplies of tetraethyl lead, an additive which prevents knocking in aero engines. But Standard Oil kept the supply of this vital resource going through neutral Switzerland for the entire war. And any Dutch people who might be wondering at this point what kind of percentage the Swiss took from this little arrangement, they need to be aware that thanks to Prince Bernhard von Lippe of the Netherlands, the father of the recently retired Queen Beatrix.
The father of Queen Beatrix actually gave the Nazis oil that powered the vehicles that invaded the Netherlands. This is the father of Queen Beatrix. Watch him.
And prominent member of the Nazi Party, Royal Dutch Shell gave Hitler millions of tons of crude oil for nothing.
For free. Meanwhile, Royal Dutch Shell took a lot of oil from Nigeria. They did not meter them. Unmeasured. Did they pay Nigeria the oil they stole with which they fought the First and Second World Wars? They told you they found oil in Nigeria when? Really? Was it really when they found oil in Nigeria? Crude? Man.
The Dutch royal family actually fueled the invasion force which annexed Holland and were instrumental in helping the Nazis to rape their own country.
Yes.
But most shocking of all is the truth of what really happened in the little Polish town of Oświęcim. This sleepy little hamlet just happened to be in an extremely mineral-rich region, particularly for coal, which Western industrialists had wanted to get their hands on for years. With the coming of the Hitler regime and the invasion of Poland, the fascist financiers had the bright idea of turning this conquered region into an investor's paradise by building a Nazi concentration camp near the town and utilizing the slave labor available to drastically reduce their own production costs.
Yes.
Few people.
The concentration camps, again, weren't death camps. They were the place they kept their slaves that were working for them for free. You work yourself to death. You work yourself to death. Free labor camp owned by American corporations. Did you hear that? Owned by American corporations. In fact, majority of the people who died there were not even Jews. Are you getting me? Dissidents were also put there. Polish people, Jews and non-Jews alike.
People are aware of the gigantic scale of the Nazi concentration camp network and are blissfully unaware that the
Have you seen where the camps were? So not just there.
real purpose behind their construction was to make a profit for the rich, which is why they stole all the gold watches, gold wedding rings, and gold teeth fillings and melted them down into gold.
And these gold ingots, most of them are still in the vault of the Bank of England till this day.
Gold ingots. To this day, there are bars of gold lying in the vaults of the Bank of England, which have the Nazi swastika.
After America invaded, took over western part of Germany, the gold they took there, they shipped to America. Do you know that the Germans demanded them? They were nowhere to be found. They attempt to read. I will post the link to that publication on the page because we are about ending this now. They put their gold in the custody of the US government, or so they thought. That gold, those gold ingots can't be traced till this day. They asked for 10% of what they put there. They only gave them only 10% of what they asked, which happens to be 1% of the total thing they gave. And guess what? They weren't the original gold. They melted another gold and gave to them. So the original ones, where are they? Where are they? Kai.
Stamped on them. Gold stolen from Jewish corpses. It shouldn't come as any great surprise that George Herbert Walker's family were slave owners on the continent.
Are you hearing it? George Bush, the Bush family, the people calling Trump fascist. The person he married his daughter to get into the US political class was a slave owner. This is their plantation. Slaves, like real slaves, real slaves. Are you seeing it, guys? These are the people who own you, like basically, whether you know it or not.
Plantations of 1930s America. Walker was used to organizing slave labor. So while his business associate, Averell Harriman, was paying for Hitler's 500,000 SS troops and supplying them all with brand new Thompson submachine guns, because he did, Walker took over the management.
So the submachine guns the German SS used was actually being supplied by an American arms dealer. Guys, who is fooling who? I ask you, who is
this new Polish-Russian camp? And when his Nazi friends started complaining that they couldn't pronounce the name Auschwitz any better than I can, they all together and decided they had better Germanize the name into something which sat more comfortably on Nazi tongues. It was in this way that the world first heard of Auschwitz.
Yes.
Because the truth about
these rail tracks were actually laid by American companies. Yes. The rail tracks you are looking at were actually laid by American companies. No kidding. No, people there, we visited this place, we visited Auschwitz. Who were the real culprits? Were they ever punished? The answer is a capital no.
Auschwitz and the entire Nazi war machine is that they were essentially no different to McDonald's. They were American business enterprises abroad, businesses which the richest European families invested in, and businesses which, because of slave labor, made obscene profits, which Prescott Sheldon Bush took and placed in a blind trust.
With Prescott Sheldon Bush again, the Bush family. And mind you, they are front for the British monarchy. Are you getting me?
Which later financed a Bush political dynasty, which produced two presidents of the United States, his son, George Herbert Walker Bush, and his grandson, George Walker Bush. This picture of the railway leading into Auschwitz has, since World War II, become the iconic image of the Holocaust. To us, it now represents something like the gate to hell. But how differently, one wonders, would we have looked at this image all of our lives if we had always known that this railway line was an American railway line laid by the Harriman brothers on behalf of Uncle Sam.
Harriman brothers again. Sullivan and Cromwell. Sullivan and Cromwell. Remember, guys, let us start researching.
The Standard Oil IG Farben cartel even made the Zyklon B gas for the Jewish Holocaust.
The gas they used in killing those people there were actually made by IG Farben and Standard Oil, which is, you are talking about the Rockefellers. You are talking about the Rockefellers. Guys, are you catching? Is it beginning to make sense now? And the same people still control the oil of Nigeria and put your presidents. Then you wonder why the whole place is a bullshit. It's a shithole. Are you getting it? And someone is telling you people that when a war starts, America will come and fight on your behalf. Who told you? The same person that stole your ancestors as slaves are the same ones controlling your resources, which, by the way, is the new capital in the new age other than humans, because machines replace humans. Then humans work for free. Now they have machines. You need what to build the machines? Raw materials. Where are you getting the raw materials? In Africa. To fuel them, you need the gas, you need fuel, you need diesel. They are getting it where? From crude oil. Where? In the same Africa. Is it making sense to you now, or should we nail it into your head with a hammer and a nail? Oh.
Now, anyone who at this point is thinking that all this simply cannot be true, because if it was, someone would have sued, well, someone did. This information came into the public domain because of a Dutch intelligence agent who was so disgusted when he found all of this out, he leaked it to the press. As a result of which, two very senior Jewish gentlemen, Kurt Julius Goldstein and Peter Gingold, filed suit against the American government. Of course, the more discriminating among us will now be asking how it can be that this story went completely unreported in the mainstream media.
Of course.
One might just as well ask why the time.
Why didn't they report it in the media? Because the same people own the media. Simple and short. Keep on listening to CNN. Keep on watching BBC. Keep on watching France 24. And you think you are getting informed. Oh, yeah.
Times in London was writing favorable stories about the Nazi concentration camps throughout the 1930s, and why Lord Roth.
See Lord Rothmel, the owner of the Daily Mail. Adolf Hitler, look at what he called Adolf Hitler, a great gentleman, while the concentration camps were still open. Guys, these are the devils you are looking for. No devil exists anywhere outside of this world. These are the devils. The Daily Mail.
Rothmel was still referring to Hitler as a great gentleman as late as 1940. You really would think by now that people would have realized that it isn't so much the bias in the media which really matters. It's the things they know about but never tell you that really matter.
Yes.
Because the truth is that the press knew exactly what was going on in the concentration camps all through the war.
Children, the people who destroyed their own kids, white kids, Jewish kids, what do you think they care about your own children? You think? I'm ashamed of our political class everywhere in Africa. I am deeply ashamed. Shame on all of them.
They never said a word about it because they knew who was making money from the slave labor.
Of course.
Now, it's very easy to imagine what the response of a conservative politician or should be to all of this. If all of this is true, he's bound to ask why nobody said a word about American industrialists building Hitler's war machine at the Nuremberg trials.
Nobody made mention of Americans and American corporations at the Nuremberg trial. That trial was a sham. I keep telling people, the Nuremberg trial was a sham. No real Nazi was jailed. All of them fled to South America. And when they tell you that the Israeli Mossad started hunting them down and killing them, no. The same American industrialists that used them gave them up so they can seize their properties. The Nazis that ran away, they told you, oh, the Mossad, Israeli Mossad, that's wrong. It's a lie. The people that helped them escape later gave them up, killed them, and took their wealth. Okay, those of them that were killed, where are their wealth today? Huh? Where are the gold they escaped with? Where? Oh.
How come it never got mentioned?
Oh.
Where's the responsibility of the Vatican?
Yes, why is the responsibility of the Vatican? Do you know why Christianity died in Europe? Now check the two Christian denominations. The Vatican was involved in that war. Did anyone question the Pope and these people that caused it? No. The very first World War was caused by the Vatican. The Vatican paid the Black Hand. The Black Hand is just like a branch of the Italian mafia families, in case you don't know. All these, you see, Sicilian mafias. No, they are controlled by Rome. Why do you think that nobody would take up a case against the Vatican Bank? The Black Pope will order your killing immediately. You think the Pope that is controlling things is this one you are seeing? It's a lie. It is the Black Pope that always stands with him. He never wears white. He puts on black. That is the Jesuit general. But now you have two popes, two Jesuits. Pope Francis is a Jesuit priest. He was a bouncer in Argentina. People know his girlfriend. This guy was a nightclub bouncer. Then they made him a priest. How? Well, this place is the Palace of Justice. That's the name of the place, Palace of Justice. But it was Palace of Just Us. Just us. The people who were members of the club were hanged, killed, some poisoned. Some of them they helped escape. They later killed them and controlled their wealth. You can't say shit about it, guys.
Who signed in 1933 the Concordat with Hitler, giving him his first tremendous prestige. Are we now to find the Vatican guilty?
Yes, are we not to find the Vatican guilty? This is why Europeans abandoned Christianity. The Church of England, through the British royal family, was involved in it. The Church of Rome, the Catholic Church, was involved in it. That was the fall of Christianity in Europe, in case you don't know. Just that Europeans, it was their culture. Christianity became a part of the same culture they have. They had nothing to fall back to. European spirituality died a long time ago. They killed their European, they have their spirituality, not this myth, Greek methodology, no? Or mythology. Not the Greek mythology. No. They had their own spirituality. And only a small number of them are left. Come to Turkey, I will take you to a woman not far from my house here now. Not far from my house here, a Turkish woman, and she will tell you your dream, the dream you had last night. And don't tell anybody she has a Greek ancestry. Don't let the Turkish government know. This part of Istanbul is on the European coast. And the Seljuk Turks, when they came here, they took it from the Greeks. Don't tell anybody, please. Check the map of Turkey. Check Istanbul. Istanbul is on the European coast. This part of Istanbul is on European coast. They have a bridge, the Asian bridge. If you want to go to the Asian side, Bebek, all these areas, you cross the bridge, you are in Asia. This part, you can actually go from where I am to Bulgaria, to Romania, from there into Europe without crossing any water, because this is a European coast. Okay? Hold on, guys. Hello, one day. One day, I'm live, oh, I'm live. Kampo Chiage. Okay?
Where's the responsibility of the world leader Winston Churchill, who said in an open letter to the London Times in 1938?
In 1938, Winston Churchill was praising Adolf Hitler. Do you know who Winston Churchill's father was? He was a New York banker. He was a New York banker. And his family is involved with the city of London. London is different from city of London. Oh, to those of you who don't know it now. We are all slaves. It's a free word. It's a free word. Abia. If it's a free word, try with your own money you made. Go from Nigeria to Germany, let me see, without a government-issued paper. It's a free word, right? Buy your own private jet, then fly over to another place. Let me see. It's a free word. Decide that you are not going to use the currency they give you. It's a free world. You know your name, right? Your people know your name. Don't walk around without any government issued document. It's a free world. Walk around, give birth to a child and don't give that child a birth certificate. Let's see how that child will thrive in the world. Is this still sounding like a free world to you? Now you know it's not a free world. Do you know who your rulers are? You think your president is your man. Yeah,
1938.
1938.
Your Honor, were England to suffer national disaster, I should pray to God to send a man of the strength of mind and will of an Adolf Hitler.
Were England to suffer a great disaster, we pray to God he should send a man with will and mind of Adolf Hitler. Quote by who? Winston Churchill. And let me tell you, when they turned on him, when he wanted to, okay, now I'm taking all these places. No, we don't want to continue this. Okay, you can now go fuck yourselves. It changed. And everything you know about history is false. If those stories were true, they wouldn't have taught you them in school. You wouldn't have known about them in your schools. Quote me anywhere.
Are we now to find Winston Churchill guilty?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the responsibility of those American industrialists who helped Hitler to rebuild his armaments and profited by that rebuilding? Are we now to find the American industrialists guilty?
Yes.
No, Your Honor, no. Germany alone is not guilty. The whole world is as responsible for Hitler's Germany. It is an easy thing to condemn one man in the dark. It is easy to condemn the German people, to speak of the basic flaw in the German character that allowed Hitler to rise to power. At the same time, comfortably ignore the basic flaw of character that made the Russians sign pacts with him. Winston Churchill praise him. American industrialists profit by him.
From him.
American industrialists profit by him. Profit by him. Profit by him. Profit by him.
Watch. Henry Ford, Prescott Bush, Avenue Harriman, George Herbert Walker. Meanwhile, remember, Prescott Bush married into this family, George Herbert Walker. Now you know why he named his son George Herbert Walker Bush. That was such a love he had for his father-in-law. Imagine. Anagone Biati. Watch them.
In school, we are taught that the Allies defeated Nazi Germany in World War II.
Guys, we'll have to stop here now. I need to go somewhere. I know this is supposed to be an evening program, but let me not make a promise. I will try to come back and do the program. I'll try to come back and do the sequel to it in the evening. Okay? I'm not guaranteeing anything. If I'll do it, we'll come here. Please just turn on your notification bell. Turn on your notification bell so you will know when we come live. I'm not promising anything. If you know business is disturbing me, I can't have a fixed time for it. The pandemic is over. The lockdowns are over. So I'm not going to be having time like we used to. Of course, they are hitting the page. I don't know what their problem is. Nevertheless, we will keep on telling the truth, not minding who is angry and who is not. We'll keep on educating our people. The only thing they hate is our exposition of them. Our exposition of their actions is what they hate most. And we will keep on doing it. We will keep on exposing them. They hate that exposition and they expose them, we will do. That we will do. Okay? That's what we'll keep on doing. So, guys, educate yourself, educate your friends and family, your history teachers. You can actually teach them. Let them know that everything they taught you is bullshit. Don't be angry with them because they themselves were being brainwashed by the same people. They were all brainwashed. So don't be too hard on them. They are not privileged like you are. And it's a shame that most people are seeing the truth but can't piece it together. Some don't even want to listen to it. Some don't even want to listen to it. We'll keep on doing it. Okay? Yeah, thank you. We'll keep on exposing them. We'll keep on exposing them. We'll keep on exposing them. Thank you, everyone. My stake on LNC, my dear LNC, they have a good project, but come on, no one is going to divide Nigeria. I think they can push for a real change in Nigeria, a change in our time. They can push it. Okay? That's it. Other than that, if anyone is telling you that they can divide Nigeria, forget it. Now you have seen the people behind Nigeria, right? You've seen what they did to their own people. Now imagine what they will do to you yourself. That's why everyone should avoid wars. Avoid these things, okay? Thank you guys on YouTube for joining us. Please help me share the stream. Share with friends and family and educate them. We are going to keep on analyzing the video until we get to the end. Thank you for joining us, those guys on YouTube. Join us later today or tomorrow.